Last year's disastrous Tony Hawk ride all but dragged the series' name through the mud. The skateboard peripheral it came bundled with failed to make a lasting impression due to botched accelerometers and sensors that didn't work. Now with Tony Hawk Shred, Activision is hoping lightning doesn't strike twice. Have all the kinks been ironed out, or is Shred another disaster in the making? Given the nature of the peripheral, it only seems fitting that the series would evolve and incorporate snowboarding. Make no mistake though, the focus is still on street skating. With the exact same modes to choose from and identical motion-based controls, you won't notice much of a difference when you hit the powder, apart from a few more half-pipes. As was the case with Ride, Tony Hawk Shred forgoes any sort of story, instead focusing on a series of events you select from a menu. Once you've satisfied certain win conditions during one event, you'll quickly move on to the next. It's all very arcade-like and meant to be played in short spurts. The variety in Shred is on the weak side, with only a handful of events to choose from. Trick Mode and Point Rush are essentially identical. Only one rates you based on how many tricks you perform, while the other judges you on points earned against a clock. There are also two trick-heavy modes, which concentrate on small enclosed sections of each course, where you'll need to satisfy specific goals. Freeride, meanwhile, lets you loose on any of the game's courses without any imposed structure. If you want to eke some enjoyment out of Shred, this is your best bet. Otherwise, you'll have a hard time finding meaningful distinctions between the available modes. All of the modes are available online, but that's assuming you can find other players to begin with. Shred also has a reasonable number of unlockables, mainly characters and outfits, though other than their appearances, the riders are no different from one another. There aren't many stats tied to individual characters, so picking the Hawkman over a lesser known won't result in a different ride. Though Shred is bundled with a new board, the game utilizes the same technology as Ride. Once again, the board's sturdiness makes for a pretty tough piece of hardware, enough to withstand some heavy abuse. Unfortunately, outside of the board's durability, the same problems that plagued Ride are just as evident in Shred. The accelerometers and 4-point sensors are still incapable of registering movements beyond the most basic of skateboarding and snowboarding tricks. Pressing down firmly on the tail to ollie or lifting the nose to manual are your safest bets when it comes to tricks. Beyond that, things fall apart quickly. If you aren't playing Shred on casual or semi-casual difficulty, where the game holds your hand and steers for you, simply trying to navigate around fixed courses is nearly impossible. Trying to clear a gap, the most prominent hurdle the game throws at you, is difficult due to timing issues and the board's inability to register your actions. Any attempt to pull off special tricks, by leaning during an ollie for example, or holding your hand over one of the sensors to do a nose grab, results in one of two things: falling off the board or doing an entirely different trick than what you intended. This is especially frustrating when missions call for specific grinds or tricks. You end up retrying spots over and over again until you magically get it right. Shred seems to understand the shortcomings of its controls. Grinding doesn't require you to actively maintain balance, and as a result, the rail riding experience is about as good as the game gets. Otherwise, if you're going for a high score, it's usually best to randomly flail the board around and pray for success. Though the peripheral has the ability to register complete rotations, trying to reposition yourself after a 360 is overly difficult, let alone staying on the board after you complete one. At this point, Shred's technology has completely lost its novelty. The moment you try to put it through its paces, you discover just how poorly equipped it is to enable even the most basic of tricks. Failed jumps, mistimed grinds, accidental deaths, and unregistered movements are the name of the game. Ride's cartoony art style has carried over into Shred, and so have the same clipping and collision detection issues. Your boarder will frequently flail in midair and fall short of ramps, temporarily pushing you into the environment, prompting an immediate respawn. When you manage to pull them off, tricks convincingly evoke their real-life counterparts, and the slow-motion specials are a nice touch. However, if you try to chain too many tricks together or lose your balance on the board, your character goes into a fit, a rather comical effect. Finally, you won't be convinced by the real-life pros singing your praises at the end of each run. It feels more like they're actually mocking the game.
Way to wild out! Yeah! I'm wilding out, you know what I'm saying?
All the problems that plagued Ride have managed to migrate over to Shred. The peripheral might be able to withstand a small hurricane, but that doesn't amount to much if you're incapable of fulfilling win requirements. The only way Shred won't make you want to tear your hair out is if you play the game on a casual setting, during free ride, and with low expectations. Perhaps the technology will work as intended at some point, but that day seems far away. Steer clear, head outside, and try the actual sports themselves.